Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation, Module 1 Overview of Russia's Strategy Cyber Capabilities. So this is going to be the agenda for this presentation. We will start from introduction, Russia's information sphere as a battlefield. Global context. Russia has increasingly restricted citizens' internet use. This trend grew after Snowden's 2013 disclosures, which shifted global attitudes towards surveillance and data control. Russia views the information sphere as infrastructure and a contested space in modern warfare. Russia's strategy cyber posture. Since the early 2000s, Russian doctrine has defined the information sphere expansively, covering networks, public trust, and national unity. Currently, this doctrine underpins all Russian cyber strategy. One of Russia's most notorious cyber warfare units is Sandworm. They targeted Ukraine's energy grid, spread the devastating NotPetya malware globally, interfered in democratic elections, and disrupted high-profile global events. So Russia's cyber activities are not limited to official state units. They also draw on a broader ecosystem of actors, patriotic hackers. These are cyber criminals who operate with state tolerance. So, and even private military firms creating an ambiguous environment that blurs lines of accountability. Russia blends cyber attacks with traditional military tactics in hybrid warfare. In Ukraine, for example, malware like Whispergate and Hermetic Wiper has been used to disable systems, create chaos, and undermine public trust alongside physical military operations. And I wanted to share some case studies insights from CyberWire podcast. This podcast confirms the strategy focused on infrastructure disruption, the persistence of Russian operations, and the integration of cyber into hybrid warfare. Um, they have real world examples and they are very interesting because they strengthen our understanding of Russians' long-term cyber objectives. Global implications and future outlook. Russian cyber operations have far-reaching effects. They destabilize infrastructure, erode trust in public systems, and make attributions difficult. But there are ways to mitigate and reduce risk. The global community must maintain vigilance, share intelligence, and adapt strategies to meet these evolving threats. The last module, we explored the who, identifying the key actors involved in Russia's cyber operations, from state agencies to proxy groups and cyber criminals. Now we'll shift to the what, examining the patterns and the geopolitical dynamics that drive their actions. Russia's cyber strategy. Russia's approach to cyberspace is shaped by Cold War traditions. They see it as both a vulnerability to defend and a weapon to protect power. Cyber operations allow Russia to challenge the West at relatively low cost. There are patterns that characterize Russia's way of operating in cyberspace. Since the early 2000s, Russia has consistently relied on cyber operations to exploit vulnerabilities. These patterns blend espionage, data theft, and information operations targeting NATO, the EU, and US institutions as well. I believe there are three main motivations drive Russian cyber operations. The first one is security concerns about NATO and Western restrictions. The second, the need for economic leverage. And the last one, a strong focus on controlling information at home and abroad. Historical context of Russian cyber operations. Russia's cyber strategy is rooted in Soviet era traditions of information warfare by carrying Cold War strategies into cyberspace. Russia extends its long-term geopolitical goals into the digital domain. Russia's operational tactics include phishing, malware, and supply chain attacks. These methods target critical sectors to gather intelligence, disrupt systems, and manipulate outcomes, often in energy and financial industries. Case studies and major incidents. Apt 28 shows Russia's strategy in action. By combining espionage with leaks, Russia amplifies division and undermines trust. From Estonia in 2007 to Ukraine in 2014 and the 2016 US elections, we can see consistent disruptive patterns. Integration of cyber intelligence. Russia integrates cyber intelligence into its broader military and political strategy. Offensive and defensive operations go hand in hand, with information campaigns amplifying the effects of stolen data and disruption. In today's conflicts, cyber is a permanent part of hybrid warfare. Russia relies on a multi-actor approach, blending state agencies with criminals and activists, allowing deniability while still steering outcomes. In conclusion, to end Module 2 presentation, Russia's cyber operations are shaped by recurring patterns, historical roots, and modern tactics, motivated by security, economics, and information control. These operations are fully integrated into Russia's geopolitical strategy. Hello everyone, welcome to Module 3, the when. In the previous module, we examined the what, the recurring patterns and motivations behind Russia's cyber operations. Now we will study the when, questioning the timing of key cyber events and moments of intensified Russian activity. Importance of the when. Understanding when Russia launches cyber operations helps us see the connection to larger political moves. Attacks are rarely random, they often align with key political or military moments. The first big examples came in Estonia in 2007 and Georgia in 2008, where cyber attacks unfolded alongside political tensions and even military conflict. These incidents became the blueprint for Russia's future cyber operations. Ukraine in 2014 marked a turning point. Cyber attacks supported the annexation of Crimea, including energy disruptions and government hacks. This showed how cyber became a permanent feature of hybrid war. The 2016 US election interference is one of the most well-known cases. Russian hackers stole and leaked information to create division at a critical democratic moment. Timing here was essential. It maximized political disruption. During Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we have seen thousands of cyber incidents within a year, targeting energy, government, and communications. As highlighted in CyberWire podcast episode 1788, cyber operations have become inseparable from modern armed conflict. Attribution challenges. identifying who is behind an attack is always difficult. Russia often hides behind proxies or criminal groups. Attribution requires deep technical intelligence work. And even then, it can carry geopolitical risks if mistakes are made. The key takeaway for Module 3 is that Russia times cyber attacks for maximum effect during elections, wars, or political crises. Recognizing these patterns helps us prepare effective responses and also force us to rethink deterrence in the digital age. Hello, welcome to Module 4, the where. In our last presentation, we looked at the when, the timing of Russian cyber operations, and how attacks often align with political crises, military conflicts, or moments of strategic opportunities. Today, we will shift to the where. We will examine the specific locations and systems that Russia has targeted. By mapping out these attacks, we can understand Russia's strategic priorities and the geopolitical messages behind its operations. An overview of Russian cyber targeting. Russia uses cyber operations as a tool of state power. Their targets have included governments, banks, infrastructure, and elections. The distribution of these attacks shows clear priorities: controlling their near abroad, undermining NATO and the EU, and challenging US influence. Now let's go back to Estonia in 2007. After the relocation of a Soviet war memorial, massive distributed denial of service attacks disabled government, banking, and media websites. Estonia, one of the most digital nations at the time, became a test case. The message was clear: Russia wanted to show that they can disrupt a neighbor's digital infrastructure. A similar attack back in 2008, during Russia's invasion of Georgia. Cyber attacks on Congress, banks, and media outlets along with physical military action. Websites were defaced and service disrupted. The cyber component amplified the battlefield, limiting Georgia's ability to share its narrative internationally. Now let's talk about recent cases. In Ukraine, Russia escalated to targeting critical infrastructure. The 2015 and 2016 grid attacks caused widespread blackouts. Later, the 2017 NotPetya malware spread globally, destroying networks. These operations show Russia experimenting with cyber sabotage that creates real-world consequences. Now an example of a closer case. Beyond its neighbors, Russia expanded attacks to Western democracies. The 2016 US elections involved disinformation and email leaks. Russian groups have also infiltrated the energy sector in the US and Europe. These attacks show Russia's global ambition to erode trust and unity. Okay, so there's debate over whether these operations are acts of war. Thomas Reed argues there are sabotage, espionage, or subversion, not war. But Johnstone disagrees, saying force doesn't require severity. Destroying systems can still be warlike. Russia's actions blur this line, raising big strategic questions. Here we are looking at US cyber deterrence. One idea was that if we signal or show the destructive potential of our cyber capabilities, adversaries might back off, while That sounds logical. Russia's continued attacks show that deterrence in cyberspace is fragile. In fact, showing too much of our capabilities could actually provoke escalation. Recent cyberwire episodes illustrate how the ware continues to evolve. One highlighted the cyber army of Russia reborn, attacking US, Polish, and French infrastructure. Another episode covered the CISA's warnings of persistent Russian targeting of US systems. These real-time cases show Russia expanding its geographic reach. Okay, so to wrap up, Module 4 presentation. Russia targets both its neighbors and Western enemies, focusing on government, financial, and critical infrastructure systems. These operations are intentionally motivated, though their classification as war is debated. Deterrence frameworks are struggling to keep up, and Russia continues using cyber as low-cost, deniable instrument of statecraft.